URL. Up here at the top, and you want to click on this, right click, copy, and then you want to go into your OBS studio. You want to click on the plus icon down here at the bottom under your sources, and you want to add a browser. Source. When you do that, all you have to do is call it whatever you want to call it yourself, and then you want to add your
Okay. Okay, let's see if this works. It says, Interesting. Supposedly that's supposed to have the chat window, but no one said anything. Only one person's watching. Okay, let's see if that appears in the window. It doesn't appear, does it? It says this window is unavailable. This is so annoying. I'm trying to get the chat window to appear. Let me try it again, guys. So that way you can see what I'm seeing. I'm gonna try properties. Put this. Paste. Okay. And that should have the chat. Oh, the chat's there. It worked. It's a Christmas miracle. Tiny font, though. Yeah, but now you can see what it says. So I wanted to talk about the Alex Jones stuff. That YouTube is pulling his entire channel, which I think is, apologies for my voice. YouTube pulled his entire channel, they said to him, which I think, legally is their right, so on and so forth. But I think it's kind of nuts to, first of all, it's an improvement because they used to just delete people's channels without notice. But I don't know. I think this is very, very, uh, it's a bad precedent. It's going to make a martyr out of him. I saw someone tweet that out earlier. Um, I this is very much slippery slope kind of stuff. I know the SPLC has said that they're behind this to some extent. Hold on, I'm going to change this chat window so it shows everyone, not just the top people. How do I do that? It's going to say live chat. Great. Um, my book is going to be done tomorrow. Uh, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the S should be for Soviet. This is Soviet stuff. There's a guy named Lysenko, who everyone should know about. Basically, when you have these totalitarian countries, which we are not, obviously, but the precedent is to have the correct party ideology before any credentials. So Lysenko had this retarded view of, I shouldn't be using that word, especially in this case, view of biology, because basically Mendeleev's genetics didn't apply to communism. It didn't match up. So he had this whole wrong turn biologically. And he set, Soviet biology back many, many years. So this is kind of a similar thing where even if you don't know the other way it works, Rand had a great essay about this called Have Gun Will Nudge, meaning you don't have to flat out censor people, but if you hold that sword over their head, they're going to self-censor to be paranoid. And that way you can pretend to have clean hands. Oh, they chose to do this. So it's a very kind of insidious technique. It gives them plausible deniability. It's bad. I mean, it's just bad. Again, it's their right as a private company, but I don't know. I think this is, and we remember when Hillary was supposed to have won, there was this whole they started this whole fake news campaign because they were going to have a precedent for censoring stuff. And the word it's unfortunate the word censor is used in a government sense and a private sense, but basically they were going to have hey there, Ashwood. There's a censorship in a private sector sense as well, and I wish there was a different word for the two because it is important to have those distinctions. But Breitbart and many people on the new right, talk about how politics is downstream of culture. This is a good example. It's like if you don't need the state to be censoring, if the culture is going to be censoring for you. And I think Alex Jones is not exactly by even close to the worst of the people. So this is bugging me out a little, to be honest. What's the alternative? Is to create alternative platforms, but then what ends up happening there is the platforms tend to be magnets for the rejects, and they're going to be lower quality per capita. Can I grow a beard? Probably. I just haven't shaved because I've been working so hard. Um, so yeah, those are my thoughts. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the chat because this is something. Um, my normal bedtime is 2 a.m. I wake up at 11 every day. And I gave myself a treat for the first time in a long time. I'm having a Pepsi. Where do you see it going? See, I talk about this in my book and I talk about this a lot. It used to be you had the three channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And basically all public opinion was on one of these three channels. Then you had Fox and you had CNN. And now you have infinite channels, infinite YouTube channels, infinite Twitter channels. And this is freaking them out. On the one hand, you could defend them being freaked out because people can say the most batshit stuff crazy that's possible, and it's going to have the same space as someone saying something truthful. On the other hand, there's this huge middle ground, and for them, they're like, shit, we're losing control of the mic. We got to start doubling down and making examples out of people. So, yeah, let me go with some of these questions. Cold water or hot water for washing your jeans? You don't wash You don't wash those kind of jeans. Um, Pepsi symbolic, since they don't just delete his channel, do you think there's a chance? Do you think there's a chance Jones is pulling a stunt? I would find it highly unlikely that he would blatantly lie. And frankly, I thought it was sick in the extreme that he had to talk to this punk kid and call him Mr. Hogg. The idea that adults have to genuflect before children is something I find beyond reprehensible. It's one of the biggest issues I have with lots of libertarian parenting. I remember I was on some Facebook group a very long time ago, and someone was making the point that adults have to earn children's respect, and I got triggered. I really did. I had to leave the group. That got to me. Um, Good morning, everyone. The problem I have, okay, with Gab, right? Do you put your jeans in the freezer? No, my jeans don't smell. What level of success will the thought police have, do you think? This is the issue of the day. They've had in the past enormous success. One of the things I was arguing with my editor about is I have this like 3 to 4 page thing talking about the history of free speech in America. Because if you listen to the New Right, or if you listen to me when my voice isn't fucked, they will tell you this is a recent phenomenon. It's not at all. But there has always been enormous attempts, often very successful, to control speech in this country. Technology is what's saving us and making it harder. Are we going to have to live with a North Korea that has hundreds of ICBMs pointed at us? Those ICBMs are pointed at Seoul and Tokyo. I don't know if we're going to have to live. Hopefully, we don't have to live with them. Hopefully, we can have some peaceful exit. I don't want a war. Are any of those deep sea creatures man-sized? Or does the pressure select hard against size? That's a great question. So if you guys watched my show this week, I did a slideshow, an autistic slideshow of God's mistakes, featuring lots of those deep sea creatures, which I talked about when I was on Joe Rogan. Deep sea animals tend to be small. There are some exceptions, like Greenland sharks is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. And there's some kind of issue about proportionality, about surface area to body size in terms of heat and cold and so on and so forth. Plus, it's hard to move with all that pressure. It would be great if Trump got banned from Twitter. He would lead an exodus to another platform, sure. Will Gavin go back to compound? Mornings suck now. I think Bill. I like Bill a lot. I don't think Gavin's coming back. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about his new show, and he's got that late night show he's doing now as well. I haven't seen it, but I definitely do want to hear what people have to say about that. Oof. God, it sucks being hoarse because you sound so much sicker than you are. Like, I'm not sick at all. I did my workout for the day, so. Yeah, Matt is right. We do need alternative platforms, but it's not like, for example, the alternative to the network channels wasn't another network. It was Rush Limbaugh. It was talk radio. So the alternative to YouTube isn't going to be free speech YouTube. It's going to be some other form of communication, I believe. Gavin's too restrained. Okay, I'm sorry. How come people haven't learned that banning doesn't work? It does sometimes. People get scared. Um, I've been following you since you killed off Red Eye. That's another, yeah. Um, I'm surprised the peaceful parenting thing triggers you because I thought you had a poor relationship with your own parents. I do, but there's certain things that don't make sense about. Peaceful parenting does not trigger me at all. The specific idea that children and parents are equal triggers me enormously in any context. Owen Benjamin has been streaming for more than 3 hours on an epic talk. What's he talking about? I love Owen. So it feels good to get this book out of the way. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a fucking it's been a situation. With the left-right dichotomy being whether you think some people are better than others, that's not what I mean explicitly by the left-right dichotomy. It's my litmus test. Would this put neocons on the left or the right? Neocons are on the left. Of all the conservatives, they're clearly the most on the left. They're hardcore Woodrow Wilson devotees in every fucking way. There's absolutely no ambiguity here. In fact, when George W. Bush ran as a compassionate conservative, compassion is the basis of leftism. And that's not an attack on leftism, that's leftism at its best. The best thing about the left is that they're worried about the little guy and the people who fall between the cracks. That's great. Someone needs to do that, and they should be commended, especially when they do it when they're living the values, like people who volunteer or like who work at an animal shelter or something. Those people are great. They deserve credit. Thank you. Unambiguously. When is the last time you washed yourself on Cash Cab? It has not been for quite some time. Are you mathematically high IQ? I have not done math in a long time. My IQ is 160. I have not read Nassim Taleb, but everything I've seen from him I like. I don't know what Trump's plan B is with North Korea. I'm not worried because many, many people from this administration, from Bannon to Secretary of State, have said war is not on the table. Is there a more vile place on earth than Bill Kristol's mentioned? Yeah. Why do people? Why message redacted? What is this? The CIA? Bill Kristol started. Guys, I want to hear your thoughts. Bill Kristol started following me. Does that mean I suck now? Am I over? Should I just fucking the seppuku? What are the specific elements you find of peaceful parenting you find nonsensical? The idea that you should never hit kids. Like I can't wrap my head around it, because if someone is a shrieking little freak, like there was just this video I just saw, and again, I want to be proven wrong. This is an uninformed perspective. I'm being uninformed, even though I had Louis J. Gomez on my show talk about this. If you had that, there was this video I just saw of an air flight from Germany to the U.S. I believe it was like 8 hours. There was a kid screaming, shrieking, running around the whole time. I would have no problem just cracking that kid's head against the wall. And I don't understand what the alternative is other than like physically restraining him. If that's peaceful, that's fine too. And I want to be convinced otherwise. That's what I'm saying. For me, sitting there while he's shrieking is not an option, a viable option. I don't get it. So again, I would love to be proven wrong. A Michael Malice stream, will this be regular? Yeah, I think so, especially now the book's being done. Woodrow Wilson was a good president. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. Bill Kristol dunks in people sometimes, and it's great. I don't think that's true. That video was horrifying. Yeah. The kid was a danger. Yeah, that's what I don't understand about that flight. If I'm an adult shrieking for 8 hours on a flight, I should be in jail. Why is your voice so annoying? It's always annoying. Now it's just hoarse and annoying. Do you want kids in a family in the future? I'm not opposed to the idea at all. Woodrow Wilson sold out America. Yeah, he's a monster. He's by far the worst person and a disgusting human being. And I highly recommend the book by Arthur Herman. Hold on, I'm going to make this chat bigger. Called 1917. It's just absolutely superb. Let me do this. I just resized the chat window. Why ask Molyneux about his stand on universal. I don't know what's UPB. I don't know what that means. Could you create a list of books that have influenced you most? I did 2 episodes of my show about it, and if you goggle around, someone put together those lists. It has been my experience that kids with peaceful parents are more well behaved. I don't have enough data for that. And what I'm saying is that's probably true. I'm just saying I literally don't know what to do in that situation that's peaceful. And again, if the answer is that kid clearly hadn't been raised peacefully and that's why he's acting like this, I think that makes sense too. I just don't understand what to do once you're in that situation. And I would love to be educated otherwise. IP, I don't have a strong opinion. I haven't delved into it. Me and Kinsella are very good buddies. I still don't know what QAnon is, or someone explained it to me and it went in one ear, not the other. God, Pepsi's good. And I'm not just saying that as a hipster. There's a photo of me on my Facebook when I was a kid. How much of a moron am I for not paying $8 to watch You're Welcome? 0. If it's not worth it to you, that's fine. You can tip me there's a link on the bottom of the chat room. And if not, That's also fine. Buy yourself something nice, and that's still wonderful. How many books do you own? A lot. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bookshelves in my house. Is Pepsi normcore? Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it is. Is it? I I feel like Coke is normcore. What is your over under on those Parkland kids being put on stage at the Oscar? Uh, Someone sent me a great meme which had a photo of those kids with the sign that said "Sorry I missed you." Favorite fiction book is probably you have to be The Fountainhead. Um, Pepsi is an expensive Shasta. That's funny. What's normcore? Normcore is like ironically dressing like a normie. No. God, I've not been with a man. What percentage of the books you own do you still have yet to read? 0. I own every book I've read. I have 2 books on my shelf that I haven't read, which is Murray Rothbard's new book, The Progressive Era, and Raimondo's book, Reclaiming the American Right. Favorite nonfiction book? Uh, Dear reader, no. It varies. And I mean, The Righteous Mind, no, The Machiavellians and The Righteous Mind, those are way up there. If you go to my Goodreads and sort it by rating, goodreads.com/Michael Malice, you can see all my book. Is there a YouTube tip option? No, you have to click on the link under the. I think I need to have a certain amount of views before I allow the tip thing to happen. And again, I'm sorry I'm hoarse if that's annoying, but I figure it's late night on Saturday, so what else do we all have to do? Have you read The Bell Curve? I haven't. I think I skimmed it. I thought it was very kind of tedious and mathematical. Although my editor is the same editor who did The Bell Curve. When will you invite Richard Spencer on your show? It's really weird because people think like I should obviously be inviting X, Y, or Z. Um, I sound like the dad of the guy in Cash Cab. That's funny. I don't I don't think that's that how that I don't think Spencer's organic to what my show is. I've talked to him in the past. We don't have any beef whatsoever. Uh, you can't super chat yet. I don't qualify. I don't have enough hours. I'm too much of a loser. Um, the thing with people like Spencer is it's tough for me because I think automatically, and I don't think Spencer's a good example of this, so I'm not going to use him specifically because I don't think he would be this way. But I think a lot of people of that ilk would assume, would automatically be, think I'm disingenuous because I'm Jewish. So that's the one thing I don't deal with on Twitter. If someone's like, "Oh, you really know X, Y, and Z," it's like, okay, if you're not going to take anything I say and engage with me at face value, there's no point. Spencer would not do that. I think Spencer would uh, um, engage with me at face value, to be honest. Am I worried people think you're endorsing Spencer? I don't think so at all. I've actually wrote an article defending him from being punched. I thought that was sick. And Spencer's not even by far the worst of those people. How much weight have you gained from your bulk so far? Probably like 20 pounds, I think. I would love to have Scott Adams on. A huge fan. Western civilization is not even close to being doomed. Read Arthur Herman's The Idea of Decline in Western History. Things are getting better all the time. When people say we're fucked, what metric are you using? I think you're both rational. Yeah, I would have no problem talking. Epicureanism or Stoicism? That's a great question. I was supposed to have Ryan Holiday, who's a very good buddy of mine, on my show this week. He's the guy who reintroduced Stoicism to America. I'm by far more of an Epicurean. Epicurus is one of these great examples of he's described as a hedonist, which means his philosophy is about pleasure. And when people hear that, they think coke orgies, when it's actually Martha Stewart. It's like, oh, I like talking to my friends and having a sandwich and making my house pretty. But I'm a Camus guy. I talk to Ryan. I want to be the guy who reintroduces Camus' ideas to America. Um, I don't even think Mike Enoch would think you're disingenuous. That's possibly true. I've talked to Mike. I've met him before. Um, why exactly are they anti-Semitic? I've never really understood it. Ask them. They have their reasons. There's different types of anti-Semitism too, and I talk about this in the book also. There's the people who are like, just avoid all Jews, and there's the people who are like, Jews are a problem, but there's plenty of people who are completely on the level, and so there's a range in any population. Do you like my avatar, or is it too creepy? Is that my face? I like it a lot. I like that look. That was when I was on Gutfeld. Is Atlas this place to start for someone unfamiliar with any of Rand's books? If you read Atlas first, I'm going to come to your house and kill you and report this as a threat. Rand's books must be read in the following order: Anthem, Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged. You can put We the Living wherever you want there. In order of length. That's how to remember it. Funniest person, best songwriting go-go is got to be, it might be Charlotte or Jane. I don't know. Funniest person at Compound. I think Artie's really fucking funny. Anthony's really fucking funny. I haven't watched many of the other shows. Um, I haven't read Jared Diamond. Do you miss Gavin's old? Please tell me. A lot of people are giving Gavin's new show shit. I've been on it. I didn't watch Gavin's old show regularly, but I was on it a few times. Do you loathe Freudian psychotherapy? No, because I don't know that much about it, but Paglia likes him. So you don't strike me as a self-hating Jew. I can tell you are a little sensitive to Jew hate. Well, it's odd to me, such an outlier, to be lumped in with like Jon Stewart. It doesn't add up, and I find it like this is one of the few things I find offensive. It's like, you really think me and Chuck Schumer are the same phenomenon? In one sense, we are. His daughter went to the same junior high school as me, but we don't look at the world in the same way. It's weird. Tom Woods disagrees. No, I don't know what that is in reference to. Best book, best book I've read this year. It's been 2 months. I highly, highly, highly recommend The Death of Stalin. Maximum recommendation. I guess there are worse ways to go than being murdered by Malice. That's clearly true. Will the North Korean sanctions affect all aspects of their trade, including black market? Yes, of course. What do you play those CDs on? I don't. They're digitized. Have you ever had interaction with Sam Harris? I've not. Do you have a go-to podcast? I don't listen to any podcasts. Yeah, so that's where we are. God, I can't tell you what a relief it is I was just writing, the things I was writing about today for the book are Pizzagate, Taki, Derb, and funny third thing. What was the third thing I was writing about? I don't remember. Is Chuck Schumer becoming the Penguin? I think I look like the Penguin on Gotham, which Jono has been on a couple of times. I'm tempted to read Atlas first now just to get Malice to come to my house and kill me. I've noticed you, so please, you don't need me to kill you. Why not podcast? I'm not someone who's very good at sitting and listening to people talk. It gets on my nerves. Like, I was very bad at this at school as well. How bad is Muslim violence in Europe? Ask Raheem. I'm not in a position to talk about this. Damn it, you're the only channel I don't know why the notification didn't go off. I'm very sorry. Leftist atheist Jews control the media in Hollywood. I don't think it's as simple as that. Like, I hear this a lot. Do you honestly think Joyanne Reed and Anderson Cooper don't believe what they're saying? And Chris Hayes? Like, I don't understand that thinking. If you listen to their Twitter, they drank the Kool-Aid. Hey, Luke, I just bought. Oh my God, you're gonna enjoy those books. I do kind of look like the Penguin. Yeah. Have you heard the new law in South Africa? Yes, I have, and I mentioned that in my book. This is just pure. This is Atlas Shrugged in practice. Why does the left dominate culture? I talk about this at length in my book. I got into this with Jared Taylor. The left dominates culture because it creates culture, and it's open to people who are on the fringes who later become mainstreamed. Do you still have family in Ukraine? No, I haven't gone back either. I don't believe in Pizzagate. Okay. Cooper's, maybe we have to. Okay. 1 second. Oh my goodness. Oh, that feels good. I hope I don't become addicted to Pepsi. Why does the left dominate media? I just answered that. It's also, there's an asymmetry in that leftists are much better at making a scene when someone has the wrong ideas than right-wing people are. Because right-wing people for decades, at least since FDR, were used to being the minority viewpoint and were used to their views being poo-pooed. So they never, until recently, started fighting back using the left's tactics. David Horowitz is very good on this issue. Do you ever go to Denny's and Fi-Di before it closed? No, I'm not a Denny's guy. In what ways is 2018 unlike any year that preceded it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of ways. You need me to tell you that. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I didn't finish my slideshow this week. If you think the best pizza in New York is obviously Domino's, trigger a leftist in 4 words. Equality is a myth. If you use a leftist tactic, Rand said you do not fight an evil by adopting it and practicing it. I think right-wingers have the ability to create culture. They're different between right-wingers and conservatives. That's true. That's very fair. Neocons are Trotsky. You know, it's funny. I was talking about this with, I forget who, but the Soviet Union's won the Cold War because you had the communists who took over the left, but then you had all the Trotskyists who took over the conservative movement. Those were just the 2 wings of the Soviet Union, so it was very interesting. You spend a lot of time in rural Illinois with Matt Hughes. Oh my, look at this. Team Hughes. I could go on for days about what I learned from Matt and his family. It's just amazing. He's the best. A little birdie told me you put ketchup on steak, say it ain't so. Ketchup might be my favorite food. My favorite thing to put on steak is those pyramid-shaped salt. I think you need a breathing treatment. No, every time I go on a flight, every time this happens. That's what happens when you have super AIDS. How much longer will you be on tonight? Maybe another 20 minutes. Yeah, this is a, what do you call it? A thermal shirt from Matt. I got 3 of them. I looted his t-shirt room when I was there one time. Yeah, he's doing okay. Will you and Bill Schultz team up to defeat Kevin Brennan? No. Is a cheesesteak a sandwich? It's a Subway sandwich, which is a degenerate form of sandwich. You should put I hate pepper. I hate pepper. Will you always stream? How often will you stream? I really enjoy this, and now that the book's going to be done, yeah. Ketchup being your favorite food might be the worst thing you've ever said, and yet it's true. You don't hate the player, hate the condiment. I also don't like mustard, although I do like mustard seed when it's like all granular and stuff. What else did I want to talk about? It's, you know what it was? It's like I haven't decided which beloved 80s movie I hate. Here's the thing. How I work. This is actually very important. Bill Schultz was just telling me about how he admires my work ethic. When I'm on deadline, I clear my schedule and I don't talk or see anyone. Because when I'm hanging out with them instead of working, I feel guilty. So as a result, you know, like for 6 days, I've got nothing on my schedule other than my show I had this week. And then when my work's done, it's like, oh, I literally haven't spoken today. So it might be a fun idea to do a live stream. And I know it's a little annoying just doing this Ask Me Anything stuff. But I mean, that Alex Jones stuff really was grinding my gears. And it's making me nervous. And it's the Soviet brain. This stuff is very familiar to me in my upbringing. What's your favorite type of sandwich? I like a good club sandwich. I'm not going to lie. I really like that. Weirdest thing you put ketchup on? I don't think I put on anything. I guess steak would be the weirdest. What kind of chess? I don't know. Do communists appear stronger than they are in the anti-communist propaganda, and does it benefit them? That's a great question. No, maybe they appear stronger than they are, but their ruthlessness can't be overrated. I didn't realize I was an anarchist until I found you in Compound Media. Well, that's a huge compliment. Wow. How long until the U.S. splits up? I'm working on it, people. I sent you that message on Twitter about making a I don't know what that means. What Alex Jones stuff is making you worried? I meant the pulling of his channel. How are those discs behind you organized? Through autism. Not kidding. Have you bought Bitcoin 2Gen? I don't know what that is. Steven Seagal's cryptocurrency? No, thank you. Bill Schultz seems cool, but he's just a little bit of a cuck, don't you think? No. I think of a cuck as someone who's humorless, as someone who is kind of like very waspy. So there's lots of words you can call Bill, but cuck, I wouldn't find it to be one of them at all. I love you more, Kevin. Why do you hate chess? That's a great question. I think if I'm going to work that hard and that intensely, I'd rather write an article. How much time do you spend writing a day? 1 to 2 hours. If it wasn't illegal to buy Venezuelan petro, is it unethical? I don't have a good answer for that. Have you ghostwritten any books you can't take credit for? 1. CD Road to 20 over. Okay, I'll do it. 3, 6. I was just talking about this today. Oh, I gotta do this. On Twitter. Pat Benatar, this is amazing. This set. Don't buy her albums, they're all filler. But the singles are like a fucking amazing, one after another. What I want to know from you guys who watch Compound, who are Compound subscribers, what other shows do you like on the network besides mine? You heard you say that the left creates culture. What about redneck culture? Yeah, but I don't. Redneck culture is actually, in some ways, comes from the left. I mean, it is marginalized whites. Um, but as white males have become more marginalized, they have started creating culture. Now to so okay. Have you ever seen the Alex Jones Global Love Cop clip? No. You really don't like wasps. I don't. Yeah, I don't. Um, I want to see. Okay, that's nice. If the U.S. split up, would you move, or would life in New York probably go unchanged? I think there'd be some big changes, and not necessarily for the better. Pat Dixon. Okay, in hot water. Uh, in hot water. Yeah, I don't know Gino and Aaron, but every time I've interacted with them, they really seem like great guys, like really awesome people. Jim Goad wrote the book on redneck culture. Jim Goad and I talk all the time. You don't have to tell me about Jim Goad. Crime Report, Burning Bridges. Okay. Eastside Dave. I used to watch Gavin's show. Okay. Interesting. Jim can't be on Compound because he's in Atlanta. Why doesn't Greg Gutfeld have anyone from Red Eye on his show anymore? Ask him. I would do it in a second. In Hot Water is just awful, really? Oh, it's just okay. Yeah, that's their thing. Okay, this is interesting to watch because we don't really have the feedback. So it's interesting. So it's In Hot Water is the other one that people like. I should start checking it out. Apologies, Lando. I should get them on my show at some point or another. Gino is like my size. He's 4'10" also. Thoughts on Thomas Sowell, by far the best conservative. And if you read his biography, it mirrors ego and hubris to a great degree. Lee, that is fucking hilarious. Jim Goad, more like Jim go to the polls. Yeah, your pictures from when I was on Greg Gutfeld's show. Is it inconsistent to be an anarchist, but also believe that when the state collapses, there will be a period of apocalyptic type chaos? No, it's perfectly consistent. You prefer Anthony Solo. That's a pretty common response. I'm in awe of Artie. I was a Stern fan growing up. He's very down to earth, very cool to hang out with. That's interesting. So it looks like the big four are me, In Hot Water, and Pat that people like. Okay. That's good to know. When is Owen going to get you on Louder with Crowder? Somebody else also told me to recommended me to him, and I still haven't gotten a call. R.I.P. Who are the folks on the left that you follow to understand the best versions of the left arguments? I don't really do it on Twitter, but I have a lot of leftist friends. I don't think their arguments are that. I think what the right hates about the left is leftism at its worst. Oh, sorry, Brian. I can't really make out the thumbnail. Jeb is more entertaining than you are. Can confirm. I watched You're Welcomed exclusively. Have you listened to The Daily Show on? No, I have not. Although, like I said earlier, I've met Mike Enoch before. I don't know who Jimmy Dore is. Any anti-war book recommendations? Ooh, Flynn. I forget his first name. John T. Flynn. He wrote a couple against FDR. I'm blanking. How can we please clap? You should I still think you should get Bruce Fine on your show. I don't know who that is. Could you get into why Dylan, Picasso, and Joyce are the antichrists of 20th century art? Sure. They each introduced elements that are the worst in their respective fields. With Joyce, it's incomprehensible writing, intentionally incomprehensible. Picasso, it's like the degeneracy of the art, which often is used effectively and well. And Dylan, anything folk goes to the trash. I did clap. Please do an episode on Silk Road and Ross. Okay. Favorite breed of dog? I'm an animal. Okay. You want to hear something embarrassing? Or not embarrassing, kind of cool? I thought it was here. When I was a kid, I had Simon & Schuster's Guide to Dogs, which was a handbook with all the breeds. And I went through it and like put check marks on my like imaginary pack when I got older. I'm a huge animal person, huge dog person. My favorite breeds, and I feel like it's bad because I think so many breeds I like on their own terms. But if I had a magic wand and a ranch and they clean up their own shit, these are the dogs I would have. A Valhund, although they're yappy, German Shepherd, a Pug, and a Frenchie, a Borzoi. I'm missing some others in there. There'll be a ton more. Those are the big ones that I would have. I also like the Mastiffs, but I hate the slobber. That's a turnoff for me. But those are my favorite, I would say, breeds. Thoughts on Seth Godin? I don't really have any at all. I'm sorry you don't find your morning enjoyable. Crowder probably doesn't like when you point out that conservatives are the worst. Crowder has people on that he disagrees with a lot, so you have to give him credit for that. Who's a more reprehensible human being, Hillary Clinton or Bill Kristol? I mean, she's got blood in her hands, so that's pretty bad. But reprehensible implies personality, in which case I think his would be worse. Do you like Ant Hole? I don't know what that means. You were around when Waco happened. Memories of the incident. That's a great question. I remember, and I bring this example up a lot. I was an intern at Cato maybe shortly after, and Tom Palmer was this is one of those flashbulb memories, and he goes, Janet Reno, who was Attorney General at the time, went on television and said, "This was my decision. I accept full responsibility." And he's like, "You went on TV and expect responsibility for dozens of people being burned to death? This woman should be in prison." Like, he was just dumbfounded. It's like, and he's right. What does responsibility mean? I made children die. Oops. I guess I get a bad performance review. What? You're not taking responsibility at all. Are you barefoot? No. Favorite sea animals? Probably the walking batfish. Although those salps are pretty cool because they get very, very long. They're tunicates that swim. How does Jewish success relate to guilt, therefore strong socialist leaning. I don't think it's that way at all. What is the closest CD to Bob Dylan you have, presuming you don't have Bob Dylan? Traveling Wilburys, I've got both of them, and he's on that. I did not read the Tintin books. I don't know who Hiker Blocker is. Um, wow, that's a big compliment. Thank you, Smoke. Uh, do you like Newfie dogs? I do. They're big and cuddly, and they have webbed toes, like me. Um, Dobermans. You know, my friend's a dog walker. I love pit bulls as well, and she points out that the ghetto dogs are actually the best behaved, and that's why they're so often used for fighting because they're so obedient and eager to please. I love Dobermans. I watch Doberman videos, how good they are with kids. Those huge paws. I mean, they must be so much fun to wrestle around with. Do you feel the same way about operas as you do about musicals? Operas I like even less. They should be banned. They're terrible. I don't like the band Hole. Could you have David Cole on your show? I don't know who he is. Could you ever see Pax having a show? That'll be up to Anthony. Seems like people you hate are people you haven't met. You like everyone you know personally. Yeah, I think once you talk to someone and know them on some level, it stops being abstract. Try getting on Michael Knowles' show. Well, tweet at them. Do you have, that's a very funny question. Do you have any interest in reading Ted Kennedy's autobiography, Next Stop, Davy Jones' Locker? Mary Jo Kopechne didn't drown. She suffocated. Have you ever touched a sloth in real life? No, but I've played with aardvarks. Can we see your web toes? You're going to have to do a super chat for that. Can you get Copper Cab and you're welcome? Oh, God. I haven't seen Caddyshack. Are you afraid that the infrastructure in New York will collapse one day? Like literally? You mean like 9/11? I'm not afraid of that. What do you think of Holocaust revisionism? You know, when I first got into this scene, I talked to a bunch of my alt-right friends, and I said, break this down for me. And I talked to Camel about this also. And his big point was, oh, they weren't gassed, they were starved to death. I'm like, oh, okay. Your honest opinion of Compound Media subscribers. Thank you for letting me have a show. I'm grateful. I'm delighted. I mean, it's an honor. I mean, seriously. Is New York insufferable? How much should someone earn to move there? Well, those are separate questions, aren't they? With your in-person, I've never met Richard Spencer one-on-one. We just talked on the phone. You don't know David Cole. He was the Holocaust revisionist who faked his death through the ADL coming after him. Okay. Have you ever touched Robbie Suave's hair in real life? I have not. Are there upcoming books from other authors you're looking forward to? I think there's one by Jonathan Haidt coming up soon. How does it feel knowing North Korean intelligence has read your book? They don't care about outsiders, so I'm fine. Does it annoy you when people misuse IE and EG? Not in the slightest. Okay, fine. Answer one of them. Is New York City insufferable? Well, I'm pretty insufferable, so it's appropriate for me. How much should someone earn to move there? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what your how much you can put up with. The book is not still scheduled for April. Is Lucian Wintrust as hunky in person? I've not met him. Do you think he looks hunky? He seems like a twink to me. Will there be a glossary? And then you're right. The editor wants one. But at the same time, I don't know, man. Where did you meet Caitlyn Jenner? At the bathhouse? No, it was at Tucker Carlson. She was on his first episode, and so was I at his new time slot. Well, that's very nice. Thank you for that compliment, the real Gills. I'm from Texas, and if the revolution comes, Spencer gets the bullet first. Marxist or white people is embarrassing. Well, I think that's kind of harsh. You, Brian Kaplan, and Dave Smith converted me from minarchy. Thanks. Well, that's 2/3 of a compliment. Do you believe Chuck Johnson's denial that he's a Holocaust denier? I'm not in an opinion one way or another. Chuck's been in my house. I still use the towel he bought. I haven't talked to him in years. Do you plan on doing more shows or a longer show? That's not up to me. That's up to Keith and Anthony. I read your book about North Korea. Thank you. Um, who is worse, Madeleine Albright or Janet Reno? Fuck. I don't know. It might be Janet Reno. Because I don't blame Albright for trying to use appeasement. It's like, let's try everything. It's easy to armchair quarterback. So yeah. 1 second. Damn, it's been 50 minutes already. Don't you guys have anything to do on Saturday night? Like, I thought I was the only loser out here. SNL Reno was amazing. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, they're both horrible. There's a special place in hell. What's more degenerate, Subway or McDonald's? I think McDonald's is like very all-American, so Subway would be worse. Do you kind of want to hate read what happened? My friend Jessie said I should read it because her insanity comes through unfiltered. I just don't think I could sit through it. Tell us about your recent jeans purchases. Well, I have a quota and I only have 30 jeans at a time, and the recent one was wine stained. You're working. Oh, everyone's working for the weekend. Do you think Johnny Walker marketing to women is smart? Um, yeah, because that's the thing. Like cigarettes used to be a guy thing, and then edgy women did it, and then everyone did it. So same thing with whiskey. It's like, okay, we got the male market. Now the edgy women will. So I think it's very smart. Is Janet Reno the most successful American lesbian ever? Or does Oprah take that title? Obviously, Oprah's more successful than her. Janet Reno was outed during the 2000 primaries because Al Gore's opponent, the really tall basketball player whose name I'm blanking on, and this no one noticed this. He goes, you know, gays and lesbians are everywhere. They're in the Attorney General's office. And like, holy shit, he just outed her. And this got swept under the rug. Are you drinking brisk tea? No, I'm drinking Pepsi. Have you read about Japan until 7:31? I have not. There's literally nothing wrong with Subway. I think the tomatoes tend to be a little green, and their lettuce is not good. Have you ever met Trump? I have not. Do you have a schedule for when you wear each pair of jeans? Yeah. So I have them in 3 piles, and then I'll take the bottom one from each pile. I might skip for reasons so that they get equal rotation. Tell us a guilty pleasure. That's a good one. I have a lot of them. Did your thoughts about the alt-right change from the time you started the book to the time you ended it? Yeah, I thought worse of them. I thought they had more to their stuff. You are think Shaquille, I don't know what that means. Favorite vacation spot. I haven't traveled that much, but I do enjoy going to Canada. Uh, Maybe I'll go someplace warm next time instead of like fucking Pyongyang. What are some of the column headers on your jean spreadsheet? There's not. There's only the name of the jean and the date I bought them. Yeah, Subway chicken's not good. It's like very processed. What's your favorite Tim Burton movie? It's got to be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but I'm a huge Tim Burton fan. I also love Batman Returns. You miss comments when said on Top Chat. I changed it to live chat. Isn't that sticking? It says live chat here. That's so weird. Like I'm looking at it, it says live chat, but here it says Top Chat. That is so odd. I don't know what to do. Okay. How much do you bench? I put up 85s on the dumbbell. I don't do barbell. Are YouTube live streams your favorite form of human contact? No, but I gotta tell you, I really do enjoy this. It's really fun for me. Like very, very, very fun. Do you think it's abusive for the media to prop up children like David Hogg? 1000%. What do you think of Thomas Victor? I stopped following him after he was predicting Roy Moore was being set up and that he was going to win. Can you lend me 10 bugs? Sure. Is Tim Burton really remaking Dumbo? Big Fish I did not enjoy at all. I have not seen the documentary about the failed Tim Burton Superman film. I will check that out. That sounds extremely interesting. I have not seen Sweeney Todd. Sweet and sour is the best McNugget sauce. Ketchup is. It's always ketchup. I did not like Malcolm in the Middle. Twilight Zone over Outer Limits. Okay, thank you for that, Crazy Carl. Most resonant Fight Club principle. Oh, I have an autographed poster from the cast and a signed copy of the book. Not to be afraid of getting punched in the face. Although I own so much shit, I am a big pack rat, so it's the opposite of that, their philosophy. Have I ever seen that Kurt Russell movie, Captain Ron? No. What do you think of the movie Weird Science? I haven't seen it in a very long time. I do not see movies often at all. Every time I drive through Lewisburg, I curse the town for you. Burn it. Is my... Okay. In Ego and Hubris, you say you were anti-drug legalization. Was there anything specific that made you flip? Yeah, logic. Like hearing everyone break it down to me really persuaded me. Especially the idea that if someone's a hard drug addict, is jail really the best thing for them? I've met girls who are deathly afraid of butterflies. Is that a justified fear? I don't think so. Kevin Smith really died? Is that true? Okay, no, he didn't. I loathe him, but I wish him nothing but the best. I don't know who Victor David Hanson is. What do you think about the beef between Artie and Howard? I'm not in a position to speak on that. I don't know anything about it. I know Howard has a reputation of being vindictive. You should do a show about living in... Oh, God, that's about living in Lewisburg sometime. Yeah, those college days were not fun. What shows on Compound Media do you recommend besides yours? If you scroll up, I asked people what they liked, because I don't watch anything other than Art and Anthony sometimes, and the consensus seemed to be obviously Art and Anthony and In Hot Water and Pat Dixon were the ones everyone said. Is this the real Malice voice? Does this look infected to you? Yeah, extremely. Do you believe that the weak should fear the strong? I interviewed him, you know. What is Kat Timpf like off camera? Is she more tolerable? You don't find her tolerable? I don't like... Why do you love Kevin Smith? I think Kevin Smith has this... He's very taken with himself, but he has this aw shucks demeanor, and it seems very phony to me. Who would win in a fight, Dave Smith or Owen Benjamin? Owen is like 6'7" and a bear. The bear's gonna win. I remember Chuck Norris was on Howard Stern, and Howard Stern was like, Chuck, do you think you could take on a bear? And Chuck Norris was like, a bear? Are you like with karate? Like what? Have you ever listened to the band Sparks? There you go. Whoop. Wait, it's the 2-volume set. They're good. They're very good. Okay, I missed a bunch. Okay. If you guys don't like Kat Timpf, that's very interesting to hear. I'm surprised. If Compound Media goes on tour, will you do it? Sure, that would be a lot of fun. Dude, what did you do to your chair? I know. It's like Grey Gardens up in here. I know. Your CDs are alphabetized. I dig it. They're not. It's not that simple. What old school New York punk bands do you like? Let's do this. Patti Smith has her moments. Some great stuff. Ramones, not a huge fan, although I appreciate what they did. Talking Heads, he got a little arty and pretentious. Blondie's the big one. Who else was out of that scene? Those are, I would say, my favorites by far. I've got the Comp, DIY, New York City punk, and there's some great songs on that. Suicide is a great song. I haven't seen either Poseidon Adventure or Towering Inferno. Do you play any sports? I do not. Sexiest celebrity in your opinion, male and female? Sofia Vergara might be up there. Got any vinyl? I've got a bunch. Thomas Dolby, not a fan. When is Jared Taylor on Your Welcome? Jared's not in New York. He's in Virginia, and I've been in his home. Yes. Are puns the lowest form of humor, if not what is? They're down there. Especially when people do puns in writing that only make sense if they're spoken. Drives me crazy. Uh, what do you dislike the most about Pink Floyd? The adulation. Is crying while masturbating normal? Sure. I don't know the punk band Fear. I think aren't they more of a hardcore band? The band Wire, I Am the Fly, and they've got a couple other ones. I don't watch UFC anymore because I don't know. It doesn't have a personal connection as it did when I was. One of the things I talk about in my book, when I was talking to Pax Dickinson when I was in Charlottesville, he goes, "Look, if anyone gives you any shit, just do a Jared Taylor impression. You'll be fine." Chrissy Hynde, The Pretenders, I don't think they're New York City punk. I think she wasn't from Boston. Shock humor is the lowest form. That's depends on what you mean by shock humor. How often should someone change or wash their bed sheets? I'd say every 10 days or 2 weeks. Now do Jared Kushner. No one's heard him speak, I don't think. Do you consider any actor a genius? Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Were you blocked during the purge? No. Do you enjoy the company of city people or rural people more? It's very different. I love going to rural Illinois. It's so much fun for me. I can't say enough good things about him. Yeah, The Pretenders are from Ohio. Okay. Are you a fan of Doug Stanhope? I don't know much about him. Jurassic Park, I don't like, especially that new one. I don't know what Pax Dickinson is doing these days. Denim, what material item do you spend more money on than average? What? Besides denim, excuse me. What material item do you spend more money on than average? I don't know. That might be my one thing. I donate to the live stream, but I don't think it's sent a notification. I don't think I can see it because I'm looking at this through my OBS, but it's appreciated, Luke. What were your politics like before you accepted anarchy? I was a libertarian and a smartass. Little has changed. Is there anyone that if you heard they got terminal cancer, you'd be genuinely happy? Yeah, like people who rape their kids, and things like that. Like people keep people prisoner. I'd be delighted. I'd want them to suffer. What about the germs? I don't like them. Will you write an autobiography before you die? Another one? Sure. I already talked about the assault on free speech at the beginning of this chat. Thanks for the coincidence detector stuff. Listen to Blondie and the... Oh my god. So, Fade Away and Radiate by Blondie, which is on, I think, their second album. No, it's on Parallel Lines. Might be the sexiest song ever. It is so hot. What's an appropriate amount of money spent on a wedding ring? Isn't it 2 months' salary? What's the last extravagant clothing item you purchased? It might be my leather blazer. Or I've got my patchwork blazer. Those are both very expensive. How is your therapy coming along? Poorly. When the Chinese attack, will you fight or tan and try to blend? I don't think I could pass. Can you do a Gavin Mcinnes impression? Yeah. Like, I don't understand. If you're into trannies, why do you want a little carrot dick? You want a big black cock. Do you have any pet peeves in nerd culture? A lot. Stinkiest part of the body? Like me or in general? Do you think you could get Ann Coulter in your show? I've tried. Are you a virgin, Michael? Yes. I've never seen a vagina. What question do you wish someone had asked tonight? That's a great question, and I don't know. Who would win at Punk Rock Jeopardy, you or Gavin? Probably Gavin. He's older than me, so he was there. Most nervous medical test results you've ever sweated? I don't think I've ever had like a real scare. I have not read that biography of Joseph Fouché. I don't know. What makes Dr. Studd so damn funny? I think he's like a tragic figure to me. How did you and Tom Woods connect? A friend of mine, emailed him, and then we really hit it off. Is there a specific place you have to get your hair done? I've been going to the same guy for years. I would get a comfortable done elsewhere, now that it's more conservative. Does anyone in mainstream media have bigger stones than Ann Coulter? I mean, it's, yeah. Will you do Rogan's podcast again in a heartbeat? Would you have written Anthony's book if asked? If he could have met my rate? Sure. You said this would end 40 minutes ago. No, I didn't. Okay, I'm going to do it in 5 more minutes. If you could live in any decade in the 20th century, which would it be? Well, I think life gets better as time goes on, but the ones I'm most fond of are the 20s and the 80s. Is there any reason you would ever turn down a mainstream media appearance? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't, that's a great one. I haven't seen Schindler's List. Is it immoral to make video games for a living? It's the exact opposite. It's very moral. Why are you so materialistic? Because I don't know true love. Does Rachel Maddow know she's the lefty going back? Sure. 5 favorite people to follow on Twitter. I mean, it's got to be Trump. I'm blanking. Who else? Favorite queen from Drag Race season 9 is Sasha Velour, who I picked as the winner before the show even fucking started. I was the first one, and she acknowledges that. Were women to blame for prohibition? Yes. Well, that Ken Burns documentary talks about how they were to blame for prohibition and for entering it. What do you dislike most about New York City? The homeless. Drug of choice. Not admitting to felonies on a live stream. Should I just bought a new house in a new town? Should I bother with local politics or just stick to my own ideals? You do you. I mean, whatever makes you happy. Find your happiness. Who is your favorite cartoonist? It's probably Dick Tracy. Do you have a favorite poet? I don't. I don't. Favorite flavor of Monsters? The only one I drink is the blue one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think being the smallest manlet alive affects your lack of sex and love? 10. Is poetry inherently gay? No. What can we continue to blame women for today apart from everything? You just answered your own question. Have you read Claudia Rankins? No, I haven't heard of her. Didn't prohibition begin before women got the vote? Yes, but they were big on activism and making messes of themselves. And then because they got prohibition to pass state by state, then they were like, look, we had all this political action. We deserve the right to vote. The amendment isn't what gave them the right to vote. Many states had women voting already. And Jeanette Rankin from Minnesota was the first female congresswoman before that amendment was passed. And she served 2 terms, non-consecutive, was the only person to vote against going into World War II, and was one of the few to vote against going to World War I, Republican, pacifist. What do you think of R. Crumb? He was on he was going to be doing the Artist for Ego and Hubris. Isn't that crazy? Favorite ice cream flavor? Pink bubblegum ice cream from Barnes & Noble, from Baskin Robbins. Barnes & Noble might be my favorite food. What is your preferred pronoun? Thou. Do you agree that most millennial women can't cook? Okay. Would you have sex with a sex doll robot if you were sent one for reviewing purposes? Yes. 2 more questions. Hoping Thad Russell gets you back on his podcast again. We already taped it. Do you think there's very much to North Korea politics than theories? Well, I kind of wrote a book about it. Who was your favorite fictional character? I don't. That's a great question. Might be Howard Rourke. I've read one of Dostoevsky's book, Notes from Underground, and I hated it. I know Michael Bolden, the 10th Amendment Center. Good luck with that, Sisyphus. Well, that is a huge compliment. Thank you, Jake. You guys are so nice. RK. I don't know what RK. You mean Republic of Korea? South Korea? What do you like most about me? There's not much to choose from, John. Next time you will stream. I don't know. All right, I'm calling it a night. I hope you guys... Yeah, tweet that. Release the Malice. That's really funny. I hope this was a good way to... I'm against the convention of states. A good way to spend a Saturday night. Hearts to you all. I will see you on Wednesday. I have Tom Woods on my show. It is going to be... Michael Bolden is a great guy. It is going to be the tits. I promise. Have a good night, everyone.